So, we'll learn a little bit more conceptually about self supervised learning compared to the previous lecture. So, the definition of self supervised learning is that it refers to a type of machine learning where the model learns meaningful representations of data by solving tasks that it creates from the data itself. So, without relying on manually labeled data. Okay. So the tasks by solving tasks that it creates from the data itself. It is an intermediate approach between unsupervised learning and supervised learning, also no labels and where supervised fully labeled, where the model generates pseudo labels. The model generates pseudo labels using the intrinsic properties of the data. So the core idea is this learning from the data itself. So it is learning from the data itself. So it utilizes self-supervised learning utilizes the inherent structure, relationships, or patterns present in the data to create supervisory signals that guide the learning process. So the model essentially treats raw unlabeled data as both the input and the source of supervision and crafting tasks that allow it to extract meaningful information. So the unlabeled data, raw unlabeled data is both the input and the source of supervision. For example, in images, SSL might involve predicting missing parts of an image or reconstructing a distorted version, while in text, it might involve predicting masked words or the next sequence of words. Now, pretext tasks in SSL. In SSL, the model is trained on pretext tasks, which are artificially constructed tasks or pseudo problems designed to encourage the model to learn useful features of the data. These tasks are not the final objectives, classification or regression, but serve as a means to train the model to understand patterns in the data. Examples of pretext tasks are for image data predicting the relative position of image patches. Then colorization, learning to predict the color of the grayscale images. Solving jigsaw puzzles by reordering shuffled image patches. Maximizing similarity between augmented views of the same image. Solving jigsaw puzzles by reordering shuffled image patches. In text data, masked language modeling, like predicting missing words in a sentence, then next sentence prediction, determining whether one sentence follows another. In audio data, predicting missing audio segments, learning temporal relationships between audio signals. Now, how labels are generated? Unlike supervised learning, SSL does not depend on human annotated labels. Instead, the model manipulates or transforms the data itself and then creates pseudo labels based on these transformations. These transformations introduce constraints or challenges that the model must solve, forcing it to learn representations that capture the underlying structure of the data. Examples of data manipulation for label generation, like image rotation, rotate an image by a random degree and the task the model to predict the rotation angle as a label. Replace random words in a sentence with a mask and task the model to predict the original words. Divide an audio signal into segments and task the model to predict the temporal order of the segments. So training process in SSL, the model is trained on self-generated pretext tasks using unlabeled data. The model is trained on self-generated pretext tasks using unlabeled data. The raw data is manipulated to create an input-output pair for the pretext task. The output, so this is the critical thing here. The output labels for the pretext task is derived from the manipulation process. Model optimization, the model is optimized to minimize the error on the model is optimized to minimize the error on the pretext task, thus learning useful representations of the data in the process. For an image, an SSL pipeline might crop two parts of the same image, apply different augmentations to each crop, and teach the model to recognize that both crops come from the same image. Now, the key benefits of SSL are no dependency on manual labels. SSL eliminates the need for labor intensive and expensive manual labeling, making it highly scalable for large data sets. So, it is highly scalable for large data sets. This is a very, very, very big advantage. Learning general representations, SSL train models to learn representations that are task agnostic. This is also very, very important and are transferable to various downstream tasks such as classification, object detection, or semantic segmentation. So it is learning general representations. Now, effective use of unlabeled data, SSL can leverage vast amounts of unlabeled data, which is abundant in many domains. Applications of SSL have been successfully applied in domains like computer vision, pre-training models on massive image datasets, natural language processing, language models like BART, GPT, Robota, rely on self-supervised pre-training on large corpora before being fine-tuned for specific tasks. Audio processing, learning representations of audio signals for tasks like speech recognition, speaker identification, and emotion detection. Healthcare and biology SSL have been used to analyze medical images, genetic sequences, and drug discovery. Now, contrast with other learning paradigms, supervised learning relies on labeled data for training, requires significant manual effort and domain expertise for label creation. Unsupervised learning focuses on finding hidden pattern or structures in unlabeled data, and which it does not involve explicit tasks or labels, unlike SSL. Self supervised learning bridges the gap by creating pseudo labels and tasks from unlabeled data, combines the advantages of both supervised and unsupervised. Challenges in the SSL is designing effective pretext tasks, creating pretext tasks that force the model to learn useful features can be challenging. Poorly designed tasks may lead to learning representations that are not transferable or meaningful. Computational resources SSL often requires large scale data and significant computational power for pre-training, especially for domains like vision and NLP. Evaluation of representations, it is difficult to evaluate the quality of learned representations without fine tuning on a specific downstream task. This is one of the major disadvantages. Popular SSL techniques, contrastive learning model learns to maximize similarity between related data points, positive pairs, and minimize similarity between unrelated data points. Models learn to generate or reconstruct parts of the data. Models group similar data points while learning representations. Downstream use of SSL representations after pre-training on a self-supervised task. The learned representations can be fine-tuned or used directly for downstream tasks. Transfer learning, fine-tune the pre-trained model on domain-specific labeled data. Fine-tune the pre-trained model on domain-specific labeled data. Zero shot learning use the pre-trained model directly without any task specific tuning. So examples of SSL frameworks and models: the computer vision, Sinclair, Biol, and representation of transformers. The future trends in SSL unified SSL models, models capable of learning from multiple modalities simultaneously, efficiency, reducing the computational cost and data requirements, adapting SSL techniques for domains with limited data availability. Now, by leveraging the principles of self-supervised learning, AI models can efficiently learn from unlabeled data, unlocking new possibilities in domains where labeled data is scarce or expensive to obtain. Now, the thing is that regarding the pretext task, how the model works. The model itself does not inherently know which pretext task to use or execute. Instead, the choice of the pretext tasks is determined by the researchers or practitioners designing the model. Okay, so human designed pretext tasks. Pretext tasks are usually designed manually by researchers based on their understanding of the data and the domain. The goal is to create tasks that force the model to learn generalizable and useful representations. The process involves analyzing the data modality to determine its inherent structure or relationships, creating tasks based on domain knowledge. For example, in natural language processing, the sequential structure of text inspires tasks like predicting a middle word, missing word. In computer vision, the spatial structure of images inspires tasks like predicting the relative positions of image patches. Experimenting different pretext tasks are tested to see which ones result in better representations for downstream tasks. Now, data properties guide pretext task selection. The characteristics of the data help determine the most appropriate pretext tasks. Examples include images data is inherently spatial, so tasks like predicting rotation or solving jigsaw puzzles solves well because pixels are in 2D grids. In text, data has sequential structure, so tasks like predicting the next word or marks word are effective. In audio, data has temporal and frequency structure, so tasks like predicting missing or audio segments or reconstructing distorted signals are common. Task selection in practice. Task selection is iterative. Researchers often start with established pretext tasks in the field and iterate upon them, experimenting with variations or creating entirely new tasks. Transferability to downstream tasks. Pretext tasks are chosen with the end goal in mind. Representations that transfer well to downstream tasks like classification, detection, segmentation. Empirical testing. The effectiveness of a pretext task is often validated empirically by observing how well the learned representations perform on benchmark tasks. Automated task discovery. While most pretext tasks are still designed manually, there is growing interest in automated methods to discover or optimize pretext tasks. So meta learning frameworks can explore various pretext tasks and evaluate which task leads to the best representation for downstream tasks. Self-adaptive methods. Some advanced approaches allow the model itself to dynamically adapt or select pretext tasks based on the data or task performance during training. So examples of pretest task selection, predefined pretest tasks. Researchers use well-established tasks proven to work for certain modalities. Images rotation prediction, patch location prediction, as we have discussed. Masked language modeling, next sentence prediction, temporal order prediction, contrastive learning on audio segments in audio. Domain-specific tasks for specific domain-specialized pretext tasks are created. Medical imaging, predicting missing regions in MRIs or CT scans. Genomics, predicting mass genetic sequences in teaching data. DNA data. Contrastive learning tasks like syndrome do not require manual design but rely on augmentations, cropping to create positive and negative pairs of training. Role of contrastive and predictive frameworks. Contrastive learning instead of handpicking specific pretext tasks. Contrastive methods like simply automate the task generation process by contrasting positive and negative pairs of data. So that is about all predictive models, predictive frameworks.